Let's observe silence for some time. Oh, so currently we are studying chapter number 2, Born in Captivity, and we're on the second topic, the domestic prison. So last week we went through the first few paragraphs. And I think we stopped at the Muhammad Ali example.
Yes, Amitji.
The main point is, I mean, who is a great human being? What is the greatness? One of the great qualities to have the power and not misusing that power in all aspects of life. And it's not easy. You need tremendous strength to do that. Character, powerful intellect. You should be established in higher values. Then only you can do that. Most people, any power they get, the tendency is to misuse that power, including at home, workplace, any power, financial power, economic power, military power, political power. So, any questions? All right. So, next few paragraphs is a very practical portion of this topic, and especially those who are parents or grandparents. There are useful tips how you can relate to the youngsters, to the children. A lot of people they have an issue, how to deal with the youngsters, how to deal with children, how to manage them. So it's a very practical portion of this book. So let's find out what Swamiji is saying. So Raji, can you please play the portion? Excuse me.
The present day world needs to develop this great human trait, not to use one's strength and power indiscriminately, freely. Children are the most common victims of the abuse of power. It has resulted from parents' inability to relate to their children. The parents believe the younger generation has turned defiant, aggressive, and even rebellious, that they have gone out of control. In many homes, parents and kids have stopped relating to each other. The parents see no fault of their own. They fail to realize the problem of relationship invariably stems from them. From the lack of intellect to assess the psychological traits of their kids. They operate from emotional pressures arising from their clinging attachment and possessiveness towards their children, and virtually strangulate the helpless children with their love and care. The parents therefore need to realize their inherent weakness and make a careful study of the individual natures of their children. Parents must also note children have no worries of the past or anxieties for the future. As a result, children possess extraordinary energy, and they effervesce with tireless passion and play, while parents, older folks, are infested with worry and anxiety, rendering them tired and fatigued. Both the young and the old are unaware of this natural disparity between them. Thus, in their ignorance, the older folks curb the activities of the young with restrictions and restraints. The solution to the problem of juvenile impetuousness is not in stifling their actions, but in studying their natural tendencies and giving their irrepressible energy a proper direction. Besides the disparity in energy levels between the young and the old, there is a variation in their mental temperaments as well. Children possess the power of grasping new concepts and ideas faster than their elders. That explains why youngsters take to new trends and fashions earlier than the grown-ups, while the parents take much longer time to accept, absorb anything new. This disparity in time for absorption of innovative ways of living causes what is commonly referred to as the generation gap. Hence, it becomes the parents' obligation to understand, to realize the existence of the natural disparity of levels, both in the physical and mental makeup of the young and the old. Unfortunately, the well-wishing and well-meaning parents fail to recognize the existence of these glaring differences in nature. Instead, they try to treat this nagging problem with an iron hand. However, if the parents, guardians desire the young to adopt a better lifestyle, change from a licentious to a disciplined way of living, they must possess and live those values themselves, must set the example of living the higher values of life and refrain from giving sermons to their wards. But the general trend the world over is quite the contrary. Parents do not set the example of a disciplined life and keep ordering their children to be disciplined. Therein lies a double fault. It can never work that way. The famed German scientist Albert Einstein observes, setting an example is not the main means of influencing others. It is the only means.
So very practical portion. See, there are three main points. The first point is children by default, they are full of energy. Now, why they are full of energy? Because there is no worry of the past, there is no anxiety for the future. So they are in the present. So therefore, naturally, something wrong with the camera. But you can hear me, right?
Yes, Amity.
Yeah, let me see. Give
It
me a
just froze.
Raji, okay?
Yes, Amiji. Yeah, we can
Okay,
see and hear you.
perfect. So since children, they live in the present, they are full of energy. And that applies to anybody. But when it comes to kids, it is more pronounced. So the way to handle that energy is to channelize that energy. I don't know whether Makaran is here. Is he here, Makaran? He attends Gita class. So he has a kid, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 years old. I mean, 24/7 is an understatement. I mean, the moment he wakes up, he starts full of energy, jumping in the house, running, and uh, so the best thing which we decided, in fact, this happened a couple of years back, last year. He said, okay, you put him in a karate class. So he goes there, couple of hours, kicks to glory. By the time he comes home, he's tired. You need to channelize their energy. So a lot of parents, they don't understand that. Whatever their talent is, that is understood. We're not getting into details. So whatever their area of interest, you need to channelize towards that. If they're interested in sports, they must get that opportunity. If they're interested in music, debate, you must expose them to that particular area. That's what he says. But in studying the last few lines I'm reading, studying their natural tendencies and giving their irrepressible energy a proper direction. So that is first point. Second point is the so-called generation gap. A lot of people, they have this issue. Now, what is this generation gap? Generation gap is nothing but capacity to absorb fresh knowledge. It is called as Udana Shakti, thought absorption. So this Udana Shakti is maximum from the age of, let's say, 3, 4 months or 6 months till you're 12, 14, 15. That is the reason kids, they absorb everything. If it is technology, immediately they, understand that. A lot of parents, they have to go to their kids to understand phone or what is happening to the laptop, you know. Those who are immigrants, America is a land of immigrants. So a lot of people, parents, they move from other countries. Within 6 months, 1 year, children, they become Americans. But parents, they remain whatever. Indian will remain an Indian, relatively speaking. Chinese will remain a Chinese. But their kids, they become 100% American. So that is first disparity in many homes. So there is no such thing called as generation gap. Meaning there is, but you must understand the scientific reason for that. So that's the way to understand and relate to them. And the third most important point is you must set the example. 90%, perhaps 99% parents, they fail. There is no point giving them sermons. Do this, don't do that. Be disciplined, eat well, do exercise. If you are disciplined, children will be automatically disciplined. If you are indisciplined, you may give them sermons, it's not going to help. We have a relatively large family in Michigan. I'm talking about Vedanta family. And parents who took to this knowledge, I'm talking about those who are sincere. Parents who have devotion and also they're sincerely following this knowledge. I can almost 80-90% children, they have taken to this knowledge, either directly or indirectly. Otherwise, there is no point telling them, you learn Vedanta, you learn this knowledge, you do it. You do it, you improve yourself, you become a better human being. Automatically, they will observe you. You become a reference point and they will learn from you. As opposed to giving them sermons. You're too lazy, watching TV too much, not doing exercise. You are doing none of these things. And you are giving them big lectures. So therefore, he says parents, they commit a double fault. What is that double fault? Number one, your life is not disciplined. Your life is not based on the higher values. This is what we are studying here, the values of the scriptures. And you are giving them sermons. So what is the way you live your life based on higher values? And if you don't give them sermons, at some stage they will be drawn to this knowledge, to you, because knowledge will express through you. These values will express through you. And that's what is quoting, I think, Einstein here. Yeah. Setting an example is not the main means of influencing others. It is the only means. What a statement. There is no other way. You live your life based on what we are learning. Don't worry. If parents are unselfish, children are unselfish. Parents are selfish, children are selfish. So many examples are there. I don't know whether Vijay is here, Raji is here. She will know what I am talking. The younger one, Keshava, right? This happened 5 years back. He has two sons, Keshava and Madhava. The meaning of both means Krishna, doesn't matter. So we have this annual lecture series on Bhagavad Gita by Sunandaji, Swamiji's daughter. Due to COVID, it got disturbed. So hopefully from 26, we should be able to resume. At least she will come for a public lecture. And on the last day, there's a traditional Guru Dakshina ceremony. Meaning whatever you want to offer to a teacher, you offer as per your inspiration to support the cause of Vedanta. Obviously, he has seen his parents doing that. And on the last day, Keshav I am talking about, when you come and you make an offering, there is a donation box. He came with his entire piggy bank. He must have been, I don't know, 8 or 9 at that time. I don't know whether you understand the seriousness of what I am saying. As far as he is concerned, that is his entire collection. For a 8-year-old child, 7-year-old child, piggy bank, whatever he got, 25 cents, pennies, dollars, I forgot, some $30, $40 or $60 were there. That is his lifelong financial balance. He offered the whole thing as a Guru Dakshina to Sondaji. I'm just giving you the example. I mean, from where did he learn all these traits? So obviously from parents. Since she's there, Vijay is there, I mean, I thought this example will be useful. So there is no point giving sermons. Do you want to be unselfish? Be unselfish. Do this, do that. It's not going to work. They are going to watch you. What kind of a lifestyle you are living, what kind of values you are having in your day-to-day life. So that's what Albert Einstein, the famous scientist, is telling us. And also there is a Bhagavad Gita reference, chapter 3, verse number 21. It's a very famous and powerful reference. We often quote this. Yadyadya charati shreshtaha tat deve taro janaha sat yat pramanam kurute lokasta anuvartante. So what it means, whatever the superior person does, leaders do, in this context, parents do, that alone other people do. Whatever standard he sets, that the world follows. So it does not matter what you say as a parent. What matters is, what are you doing? You may talk tall, but is it matched by your actions? Usually there is a misalignment between what you say and your lifestyle, your actions. So what Bhagavad Gita is telling us, it doesn't matter what you talk, what you say, what you do. So this is the way to bring up your children or grandchildren. And that was the tradition in any culture. You go back 30, 40, 50 years back, even in America, and they lived their life based on higher values based on Christian, I mean, what do you call this? The Bible in this country, which are nothing but higher values. It's a very powerful point for all the parents, any leader for that matter, but in the context, you're talking about parents. So how you relate to youngsters, how you manage them. So 3 important points. So are we okay? Any doubts? Somebody has raised a hand. Priti. Where is Priti? Do you have a question?
Preeti. Maybe my mistake, Amitji.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Sorry, it was before when it was not, I couldn't see anybody at the time. So please disregard.
Yeah, okay, got it. So are we okay with this topic? Perfect. Next topic, environmental pressures. So we listen to the whole topic and then I'll explain the main points. And if you have any doubts, you can clarify.
Environmental pressures. The environment you're born and live in has quite an influence on your life and living. It is known as Mahat in Sanskrit. If one is born in a communist country and lives amongst communists, one would in all probability become a communist. So too, the environment of capitalism would shape one into a capitalist, and socialism into a socialist, etc. People the world over have become captives of not just the politics, but the customs, language, religion, practically everything surrounding them. Thus, human beings have created barricades, barriers, boundaries, succumbing to external pressures, and they live in their own confines. That causes bitterness, animosity amongst the different self-inflicted factions and sections. In the onslaught of external pressures of Mahat, a few have emerged unscathed, unaffected, free. They have turned out to be great leaders amongst the masses victimized by the external pressures. One such master was Mahatma Gandhi. Prior to political independence, the entire Indian population adopted a slavish mentality to the British rulers. In that sea of enslavement, Gandhi stood out like a beacon, guiding the masses to their freedom and independence, and freed the nation from the British rule. It is a human privilege to liberate oneself from self-inflicted bondage brought about by environment. A human being enjoys this prerogative of rising above the external pressures of Mahat. So too, one can rise to the pinnacle of perfection in different facets of life, regardless of one's environment. Thus, there was a spiritually enlightened soul like Swami Ramatirtha, an astounding philosopher like Socrates, an amazing scientist like Albert Einstein. All such luminaries rose from the mass of commoners.
It's a very interesting word, Mahat. Mahat means environmental influence on you. M-A-H-A-T. So the environment shapes your personality if you are weak, and which applies to 99%. Unconsciously it is happening. So you are influenced by, you are bound to the environment in which you are born, and that shapes your personality, and you mechanically follow what is happening in that environment without asking any questions. See, if you are born and brought up in a society which is licentious, which promotes, encourages all types of indulgences, automatically you will take to licentious lifestyle. If you are born and brought up in a fanatic community, you will also, chances are you will also become a fanatic, isn't it? So you follow routine, mechanical lifestyle of people around you, of that environment. Pigeon will be a pigeon, geese will be a geese. Pigeon cannot be other than a pigeon. It has to tow that particular lifestyle. So similarly, most people, it is happening to all of us. Unconsciously, they follow the routine, mechanical lifestyle of what they see around them, what is happening in that society. For example, a farmer's son will be a farmer. We're not saying anything wrong. If that's your talent, consciously, if you want to be a farmer, why not? But what if your talent is somewhere else. Maybe you're a scientist, maybe you want to study. So therefore, we give example of Albert Einstein and Socrates. They came from common background, ordinary parents. Then they reached the top of their respective fields because they questioned. And then he talks about the political slavery. He talks about Gandhiji. Also, it applies to Nelson Mandela. These two, I don't think he mentions Nelson Mandela example here. It's not there in the book. I mean, there's so many. So the entire nation had become slavish because we were ruled, India was ruled for 200 plus years by the British. None of us has experienced that. Only person who has experienced that is Swamiji. Because he was born in 1927. So he lived under British rule for 20 years. I think 1947 India got independence, correct? 20 years, so a big part of his life. So he has seen, so when he writes, he knows what is he talking. And there was a very famous interview of Gandhiji with Lord Mountbatten. Mr. Mountbatten, that's all. Lord, what Lord? Mr. Mountbatten. But he was the Governor General or whatever of India. And I think in New Delhi or somewhere they had a meeting, and it was published in the news. The whole world talked about that interview. So in that interview, Lord Mountbatten asked Gandhiji, "What is it that you want? Tell me. You have been protesting. What is it that you want?" To which Gandhiji asked him, "What is it that you want? You have come to my country. You have looted us for last 200 and whatever 250 years. Now, what you want? You come to my home and you are asking me what I want. I should ask you, what do you want? You came knocking on my door." It's not easy. I mean, it's very easy for you and me to discuss. So it was discussed all over the world. So the whole nation had become slavish. But one man, and there's so many of them, we're just discussing one. He said, "No, I will not accept it." Same thing happened to Nelson Mandela. A very powerful example. So they came out of that mahat, that influence. Are you with me? It's not easy. So what is happening right now? Everybody around you is following materialistic and sensual lifestyle. So it's not easy for you to change the direction. Because where are the reference points? Very few people are doing that. Chances are you've seen your parents doing that, your siblings doing that, friends are doing that. Everybody is doing that. We're not saying in a negative way, but en masse humanity is going in the wrong direction. This is the supreme reality. This is the world. Everybody is going towards the world. That's the wrong direction we are talking about. So how can you not be materialistic and sensual unless you have extraordinary intellect? This is where knowledge helps. You should understand that there is no happiness in the external world. This is what everybody is trying to find. So by studying scriptures, by your own analysis, you can change that direction. But for that, you need relatively powerful intellect, and it's not easy. So are we okay with this topic? It is meant for discussion. When you have group discussions, so many questions which could come out of this topic. Are we okay? Group is okay?
Amiji, I have one question.
Yeah, please.
So when we connect this to the area of, how parents have to behave towards their children, and they are already subject to environmental pressures. So I guess it's really hard. I guess it's hard to get out of how the environment behaves 100%, right? I think we talked about this in earlier lessons where we have to adapt to a certain point to be part of the environment. So do you have any suggestions how to balance this? Because in the end, I mean, we are deciding to live in a certain environment, and we want to also live in that environment. At the same time, I know we have to always question and use our intellect and really think about what is happening around us and not just blindly follow. I guess I understand that, but yeah, maybe some thoughts on that would be great.
See, any environment has got positive and negative. But what happens is we unconsciously follow. If we follow positive, it is good, you know. But that is like 10%, 20%. But 70-80% is negative. Negative in this sense, I mean, it is taking us away from supreme reality. In that sense, we are saying negative. So therefore, to break that cycle, you need knowledge. There is no other way. And when we say knowledge, meaning knowledge strengthens your intellect. And once you strengthen your intellect, then you have clarity. Then you can question whether this is right or wrong. Just because my parents are doing it, my grandparents have been doing it, everybody around me is doing it, that does not make it right. So you question, you have that capacity to steer your life towards the higher values of life. So therefore, you need knowledge of the scriptures. So that remains the foundation. And once you get that knowledge and you develop your intellect, then you steer your life towards positive qualities, higher values of life. That's the only way to go about. Without developing intellect, it's not possible. So therefore, I give example. A pigeon will be a pigeon. It cannot be other than a pigeon, isn't it? A squirrel will be a squirrel. It cannot be anything other than a squirrel. So that is applying to all of us. But the difference is we have buddhi, we have intellect. So when you get this knowledge, when you develop your intellect, it gives you that clarity. You often give example of like Indian community is victimized by extravagant weddings. Where this tradition is not tradition, it's something negative. It was not there, but last 30-40 years it is happening. So everybody is going by a herd instinct. And it's a ugly competition going on in the community. For my daughter's wedding, 1,000 people came. So somebody else says, he has attended that wedding. I will invite 1,200 people. So this madness is going on. And I haven't come across anybody who has not done that. Those who got knowledge, yes, they could be an exception. But there also, I will say 80-90% they succumb to that temptation. But at least you question that. Are you following what I am saying? So that's the only way. Similarly, in America, there are so many positive things. It's a very dynamic, action-oriented society. So this is what we want, to be dynamic. But also there are so many other things which also especially if you come young to this country, I mean, unconsciously you follow like licentious lifestyle without getting into the details. Everything is freely available. You want to vape? Yeah, vape. You want to do drugs? Do drugs. We're not getting whether it is right or wrong. It is there. Main, they want to indulge in whatever men indulge in without getting into details. Everything cannot be discussed. And for a man, it's available. Just go do whatever you want to do. So unconsciously, you take to that. But if you have intellect, then you question. So to answer your question, without intellect, without developing intellect, it is not possible. We keep on harping on that intellect. You have to develop your intellect, isn't it? So therefore, as a parent, it is your obligation. Are you getting the connection? Forget about what is happening in the world. But if you live your life based on higher values, at least you can control your children. I mean, you can't control the world, but definitely you can influence your family. Because for them, you are the reference point. That could be the starting point for the youngsters. So are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just maybe one more topic in terms of the work environment.
Yeah.
It's also a similar situation, but changing the jobs, if you see that, certain people follow certain herd instinct mentality, and
Right.
just changing the job will not solve the problem, because you will have similar situation in the next corporation. I'm just wondering, so it's really just about changing myself, basically, not really. Of course, I can't change the environment. It seems like, there's no way I can get out of an environment that might have, might following the herd instinct. It's just not possible.
So you need to change yourself. See, once you change yourself, then you understand people are ignorant. So therefore, you can relate to them. See, that is where knowledge helps. Otherwise, they are ignorant, we are also ignorant. So there is no way out. But once you get knowledge, you become more mature compared to others. And you understand that you can't. What can you do about others? You can't. The only person you can change is yourself. So you change, and once you change, then you will be able to relate to other people, like how we relate to kids, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old. You will not try to change them. 6-year-old boy or a girl, how can you change? But then we know how to relate to them, you know? So similarly, when you get this knowledge, you can relate to them. But in extreme cases where your basic principles are sacrificed, values are sacrificed day in and day out. So in that case, maybe changing environment could be the solution. If, for example, you're working somewhere and in that corporation, something hanky-panky is going on, unethical practices are going on, and they are telling you to do it day in and day out. I mean, how can you participate in that? You manipulate the system, cheat, and whatever, So in that case, it becomes a very negative environment. So in that case, coming out of that environment is the only solution. It is more of an exception than the rule. Are you okay?
Yes, thank you very much.
Amitji, this is Sunita. Would
Yeah,
it be
let me see you. Who is that?
Sunita?
Where are you? On the screen, I have to find. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yes, Sunita.
Would it be wrong to say that if you have a strong intellect, then happiness comes from within? What comes?
Correct.
Happiness.
Correct.
Would it be right to
To
say?
begin with, you understand. It's not immediately.
Mhm.
To begin with, you understand that there is no happiness in the world.
Mhm.
Number one. Then you need to work on yourself.
Yes.
Is it just like, yes, you have understood that I have to be healthy. It's great. I mean, that awareness has come. But just because of that awareness, you will not become healthy.
Yes.
You need to do whatever you have to do to become healthy. Eat
Yes.
food, nutritious food regularly, do exercise and all that. So to begin with, if you have intellect, powerful intellect, relatively speaking, you understand that yes, there is no happiness in the external world. But then how do I find that happiness within me?
Mhm.
That is the technique. This is what we are studying. So just understanding is half the battle won, which is great. At least that awakening has come. Once that awakening comes, you will put efforts. So in that sense, definitely you are going in the right direction. But if you just stay with that awareness and if you do not put efforts, then nothing will happen.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have just a comment. I am a doctor, so I have a patient yesterday, actually. In fact, you are mentioning about vaporing, and she has been vaporing for the last couple of years. And I said, "Why you do that?" And she says, "Well, everybody's doing it because there is so much peer pressure that if I don't do it, I'll lose all my friends. They won't talk to me. I'll get isolated and all that." Those situations are sometimes very tough to handle. And though you have been telling to your children what to do, what not to do. But when they go into the society and go to school and college and all that, so peer pressure is so much nowadays. Just a comment.
Yeah. No, what did you say? The patient, what was I missed it.
Oh, no, you're a pediatrician.
No, I was just seeing a patient yesterday, and she was saying that I'm vaporing, like I'm smoking and all this stuff. So
Okay.
got into all this because of the peer pressure, which is, I said, "Well, why do you do that?" She says, "Well, I will lose all
it.
my friends and I won't have anybody to talk to and all that." So the peer pressure is so much. I'm just commenting that what you
Yeah.
mentioned. Sometimes you brought them idly and you tell them what not to do and do, but certain situations are not in your hands and all that.
No, it's not. You decide whether you want to vape and die or you want to not to vape and live. You can't blame. See, it is demand and supply. I 100% agree with you. So that is where the whole problem comes.
Patient, no?
Weak intellect, nothing else. That's what we said in the beginning, right? A pigeon will be a pigeon. Pigeon cannot be other than a pigeon. So exactly same thing is happening. So therefore, you need an intellect to question the lifestyle, without which it is not possible. You may tell you, like, rightly so, why are you doing it? But it's not going to make any difference because there is no awakening. Why there is no awakening? Why there is no understanding? Because intellect is zero. There is no intellect available. So that is the solution. Till then, they will be victimized. It is unfortunate and nothing can be done about that. So intellect is the solution. There is no other way.
Thank you.
Keep on saying that.
Samiji, Uncle Sachdeva had a question.
Yeah, sure.
Ramiji, you just answered. My doubt, our question was that, that few great people broke out of Mahat and achieved great things, the country is independent, the laws of science and everything. But yet, once we got independence from British, we continue to be the victims of, negative Mahat, all over the country, pretty much, we can see it around us. But your discussion just answered that question. The solution is that each individual has to try themselves and develop the intellect.
No society is 100% perfect.
Right. Okay.
It is a combination of good and bad. Just as no individual is 100% righteous, 100% unrighteous, or positive, negative. So everybody is an admixture of positive and negative qualities. So society is a reflection of you and me. Why talk about society? If there is 30% negative qualities in society, I'm responsible for those negative qualities because I have those 30% negative qualities.
Right.
100 of us put together becomes a society or a community. If every member has got positive qualities, that society, community is called as positive. Usually it is an admixture. Nobody is wholly perfect, nobody is wholly imperfect. It's a mirror. Society or community is a mirror. I am like that, therefore, that is society. Society is just a big word. I am like that. End of the day.
Thank you.
All good for this topic? Great. Next topic, please. The herd instinct.
The herd instinct. One finds oneself entrenched in the embodiment and environment one is born into. And it is aggravated further by living a routine, mechanical life in the general pattern set by predecessors and peers. Thus, people around the world live through life following a herd instinct, merely doing what others have done in the past or are doing in the present. Just examine your past life. You have gone through primary and high schools. Why? After completing your scholastic education, you graduated from a university. Why? The answer to these questions is quite obvious. You did what your parents and siblings, your friends and colleagues did and are doing. The herd instinct does not end there. It carries you further into business, profession, marriage, children, and the works. You are caught up in a way of life not knowing what you are doing and where it is all heading to. Few realize the consequences of these mechanical, thoughtless pursuits. Their realization, if any, is too late to retrieve themselves. And the result of following a herd instinct is invariably disastrous, even fatal. A ghastly incident in Turkey was reported in a newspaper in 2005. The report should wake up human beings to realize the consequence of following a herd instinct. On that fatal morning, one sheep leapt from a cliff to its death. Following its trail, 1,500 sheep took the suicidal leap. Stunned shepherds looked on helplessly at that bizarre scene of mass suicide. Likewise, humans mechanically follow the trail left behind by their parents, peers, and predecessors. Their thoughts, feelings, and actions are influenced by the place, people, and practice in the situation and environment they live in. So, are you victimized by the little world around you? Your mind blindly follows the herd. You need a powerful intellect to circumvent the mind's trail, to rise above the environmental and circumstantial pressures and establish your own identity. You could reach that state of authority only by fortifying your intellect.
It's a true story. In Turkey, it happened. One sheep actually slipped from a cliff. and 1,500 sheep, they took a suicidal leap. Shepherds, they were just watching. What a terrible thing. Exactly same thing is happening to us. One fellow wept, everybody is weeping. To answer your question, somebody did drugs, you are also doing drugs. So it is weaklings who follow the herd instinct. Weaklings meaning those who don't have the intellect, those who don't have the capacity to question. And that's what we see in nature, isn't it? It's the weak creatures who congregate. Pigeons are with pigeons, they are in a flock. Sheep are with sheep, they're always in the herd, but you find lone tiger in the forest. Eagle is soaring on its own. It's never in the company, on its own. You should have the intellect to understand this and not to toe the line of people around you, peers and predecessors. But it's not possible unless you have been exposed to this knowledge and you have the capacity to think and reason. So that's what he's telling us. Whatever predecessors and peers are doing, you are doing. Everybody is doing without questioning. Everybody is going in the wrong direction en masse. That was Sunita's question. Some of you questioned it in the past also. That they believe happiness is in the external world and everybody is doing it, therefore you are also doing it. Because you see a so-called successful person and you're enamored by his lifestyle, external lifestyle. He has a nice house, he has a nice car, he goes on a vacation. Maybe on the Facebook, he has got some 500,000 followers, expensive brands. One purse can cost, ladies' purse, $200,000, $300,000, Hermes, or whatever that brand is. Some of the ladies, they might know what I'm talking about. So you want to be in that place. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? But what is happening to them internally, you don't understand. So you don't know. Well, what happened to Michael Jackson, poor fellow? He had all the money in the world. He had all the following, all the name, fame. He could not sleep in the night. In that desperation, he told his doctor, please, brother, help me, give me something. I can sleep for 2 hours. This is how we got to overdose and he died. But we all want to be like Michael Jackson. Isn't it? This is the problem. Every lady or most ladies, they would like to be a Marilyn Monroe. The most beautiful lady in the world at some stage. But what happened to Marilyn Monroe? She committed a suicide. That aspect you don't see. It's not that one fine day you commit a suicide. It's the whole life of misery. Then you say enough is enough. There is something called as wealth fatigue syndrome. We often talk about it. Article which was published in one of the business magazines in London. Those who are extremely rich, they are bored stiff, suffering from depression and whatnot, because there's nothing to excite them in life. They indulge in practically everything. And how long? Initially, it gives you kick. You see nice car, BMW, you go, you buy that. There's nothing wrong with that. But then how long will it give that kick to you? Charu would know because she's got a nice car. I am looking forward to riding that car. She doesn't care, but nice electric car she has got in India. When I go there, hopefully she will allow me to sit in it. She may not allow me to drive it, but definitely she may allow me. How long it will give you a kick? Anything worldly. So therefore, that article says wealth fatigue syndrome, which you don't see. You want to be in that position because you go by the external glitz and glamour. So end of the day, what you are within, that matters, nothing else. When you are with your own, when you are with yourself, what matters is what emotions and thoughts you are entertaining. And you're always on your own. You may be with your spouse, you may be with your friends, you may be in a company, but still you're on your own. What matters is what you are from within. Bigger house, bigger car, following, all these things don't matter at all if your personality is rotten from inside. This is what I'm trying to say. You could have everything in the world, name, fame, following, whatever you can imagine, and completely hollow from within. Or you may not have anything, but paripurna. Paripurna means complete from within. That feeling of completeness has got nothing to do with external acquisition and enjoyment. This is the point. That is that herd instinct. Nobody understands that. They believe that sense of incompleteness can be removed by acquisition and enjoyment. So 99.99% are going in that direction. Everybody is falling, like the sheep committing suicide, depression, confrontation, divorces, and whatnot. These are the symptoms. Everything is perfect, and people say they feel insecure. They're going through depression. For what? They themselves don't know what is happening to them. Living in a mansion, 10,000 square feet mansion, having everything at the beck and call, all the comforts, but absolutely miserable. Why? End of the day, what matters is what you are within. So the focus has to be on gaining this knowledge and becoming whole. The word which we use is paripurna, completeness, self-sufficiency. Nothing worldly can help you to do that. Anything from the world will not help you to achieve that. But once you achieve that state, that completeness you get through this knowledge, then it does not matter whether you are in best or worst of circumstances. You may be the richest man in the world, incidentally. Why not? But you don't care. Your completeness is not linked to the wealth at all. You may be the most powerful person in the world. You may be the most beautiful lady in the world. You may be the most successful person in your own profession. Why not? But you are complete within. External paraphernalia is just incidental. There is no cause and effect relationship. So who understands this? Nobody understands this. So therefore we started by saying, you see somebody successful and you want to be in his place, but you don't know what is happening to them, to him or her, isn't it? America is the richest country in the world. The maximum depression in the world is where? In which country?
This one.
It's in America. Antidepressant drugs is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So with all the power, all the wealth, what is happening to us, to Americans? But still everybody wants to live the American dream. You're getting the whole thing, problem. Nothing wrong with that per se. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to give you any happiness. Incidentally, you may have all the worldly goodies. But worldly goodies, they are not going to give you happiness. So nobody understands this. That's the problem. Once you get this knowledge, doesn't matter. You have it, you don't care. Even if you don't have it, you don't care. That's the herd instinct. But like a sheep, we all are committing suicide. Everybody is committing a suicide, spiritual suicide. All right. So let's conclude for today. Any quick doubts? You can always send it to me. We can take it up next week before we start the next topic. Product of one's nature or vasanas. All clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, you have to say something.
Yes.
You
Yes, all
feel
good.
free to say no also. Why
Yeah.
not?
Thank you, Amarji.
Thank you, Amit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you next week, all of you. Have a good
Hari
day.
Om.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you, Amitji.
Have a good day. Thank you. Well, leave